Hi, Shrikant.
Hi, Suman.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good.
Hey. Just checking my camera if it is working. Yeah. 6:30, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to check how to do recording on YouTube.
Okay.
When is your next travel?
Nothing as of now. Maybe in December we might go to Gujarat.
So where all do you travel for work?
Work wherever my client is there. So usually it is predominantly in South India only. Some client in Pune and Mumbai.
Okay. Hi, Manju.
Hi, Suman. Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Andrew.
Oh, it's a different Shrikant there, huh? Who's it?
That's the slim and trim version of me.
I know.
Hi, am I audible?
You are.
Hey.
Oh, yeah, hi, Narayan.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. So, Suman, I'm just sharing my screen. Just if you can let me know if you can see it.
Yeah. I'll make you the co-host also.
Hi, Suman.
Hi, Samina. How are you?
Doing better. Yeah.
Now, all.
Okay.
Fresh
Is
and-
my screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'll stop sharing now.
एक minute. How is it going online? Yeah. Why is it going back? Hi, Narayan.
Hi, I'm sorry, I was speaking on mute.
So, have you all been watching the match?
No,
Cricket match?
I was sleeping.
Or you were sleeping?
Not a good match. Lost so many wickets.
No, but I think if the wicket stays as it is now under lights, then it will be a
Yeah,
tricky
because now
one.
England is started playing. I know, that's true.
Because if the under lights if it changes, then it's different. Otherwise, they will find our spinners a bit too much to handle.
So they're saying there's a dew factor. I mean, our spinners will not be able to grip the ball and turn it as well as they did.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. But let's see, because the wicket is actually not a. It's a slow, not a batting wicket. So
230 runs to win.
yeah, it will be tricky. If it stays the way it is, it will be tricky. If dew comes in, then they will canter.
Hi, Vinod.
Hey, Suman, how are you guys?
Have it
All
all.
right. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Hi, Vinod.
Hi.
Hi, Gargi.
Hi. Hi.
Oh, hi, Vinod. Good to see him from all the way from Chennai, huh?
Hey, good to see you too. It's been a while, actually.
Yeah, I know. So, how's Chennai weather?
Bad. Chennai weather can never be good. It's horrible.
Yeah,
The
if
worst
it
thing
rains,
about
it gets
Chennai is the
flooded.
weather.
And if it doesn't rain, then it's sultry.
I don't know how people live here, man.
Yeah.
It's the same way we live with Bangalore traffic. They live with the weather.
I know. You're right.
But it's still much better of Narayan.
Sorry, I couldn't come in today because I already planned something because there was no intimation earlier. So
I was also almost missing it, yeah. 11:30 message. I didn't even see it. And
no, I
morning.
got a call yesterday, I think evening. I said I have already planned because I didn't hear anything, so I planned.
Firstly, I was out last evening. Then 11:30, the message came. I didn't see it. In the morning, I just woke up and he called me. I said, what? Early morning? What meeting you're talking about? He said, yes, I sent you a message. I said, okay, I can make it in next 45
But
minutes.
seriously, on a Sunday evening with the India match happening, did you expect a turnout today? I was really surprised you had this.
No,
Yeah.
in India, this time you don't know what is going to happen here. The score is very bad.
Oh, forget about the
It's
score.
230.
People
Ah,
still
yeah.
be glued to the TV, yeah. Whatever happens.
Yeah, that's what's happening, I put it on mute and you're in the meeting. So
Yeah, I can imagine.
No, but that you cannot change Indians, yeah. Even anybody playing, if it is cricket, okay, finish. The rest of the world can stop. They will be watching cricket.
I was at the match yesterday, the South Africa-Pakistan match.
Mhm.
What a beautiful match, wonderful match. Great ambience.
Even Afghanistan is also playing very well. Yeah. I never thought that country to come up like this.
So when's the day
Small
picnic
country,
shifted
they're
to
doing
here?
well. They're doing well for a small country. Yeah.
Yeah.
Late entrant also.
Yes, yes. But quite a few of them are playing in IPL,
Gargi, it's 6:31.
Yeah, right. We should start. Okay, how many of are here?
9.
10.
10.
Hi, Shrikant.
Hi.
Okay. Right. So let's start. I call the 17th meeting of the Rotary year 23-24 of RCBC to order. May we have 1 minute silence for the peace for the world of the world. Thank you. May I have the announcement of the club secretary? Suman, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Gargi. Hello, everyone. On the anniversary front, I just have one announcement to make. We don't have birthdays in the coming week. And Sudha and Rotarian Timmu, they celebrate their wedding anniversary on November 1st. That is on coming Wednesday. We wish the couple the very best. With respect to the meetings, we have the board meeting on coming Saturday. This will be at RHL. It will be a business meeting that will start at 6:30 p.m. Yeah, these are the announcements from my end. Thank you.
Thank you, Suman. Well, we have a classification talk. Shrikant, over to you,
Okay.
please.
Hi, thank you so much. So I'll just take you through what we do in wealth management, basically, So, wealth management, when we talk about wealth management, everybody thinks it is only for the, ultra HNI. But what we are trying to do here is create a wealth for everybody, So I'll just take you through a small presentation, how we go about it. And what are the important things, because everybody knows what wealth management is, but what actually goes into it is what I'm going to tell. I'll just share my screen. I'm using an old presentation, but it covers the matter. Are you able to see?
Yeah.
Okay, so how basically any wealth management is done, it is very little different from what a typical broking business would be. In a broking business, when we say broking business, it is basically buying and selling of stocks, shares through a broker. But in wealth management, what happens is it is a very holistic approach where we sit with the client and understand their objective. Why are they saving? What is it that they want to use it for? Is it long term, short term? What are the short term goals? So once we understand that, once the objective is defined, we make a plan. And then that plan is discussed with the client. And then once the client says, okay, this is the thing, how we need to go about, we start doing it. And so the recommendations are based on your risk assessment. We have a very elaborate way of assessing risk, because each individual has a different risk appetite. Right, and it is much more service oriented in the same in sense. It is multi-layered relationships where you have a service manager, you have a relationship manager, and then you have a back-end operations. So we use technology a lot, where you could see your portfolios, how they are doing. You can compare it with other portfolios in the market, or if you want to have a specific comparison with an index, we can do that. Okay, so this is what I spoke about. So this is a very important, slide where people usually think volatility is, outweighs the volatility is much more higher than inflation risk. But in actual wealth creation journey, what we're talking about is long term. In long term, your inflation actually burns your money out faster than volatility. If what it means to say is, if your portfolio is predominantly debt oriented, though there is volatility which is under control, but actually your purchasing power is being eaten by inflation. So you need to balance it out. So this is how the inflation has eroded the purchasing power of money over the long term. You started in 1979 with 100 rupees. Your inflation, with inflation, your 100 rupees would have become 2066. But actual HNI inflation, when we talk about HNI inflation, we don't. If you look at the food inflation index, there's food which is 40% of the component, but in actual HNI inflation, food is not a big, eroding of money. It is more of travel, school education, which is all growing at more than 12-15%. So that same value at 100 in 1979 would have been 9,305 rupees. Okay. So in the short term, this is a nifty rolling return. Are you able to see my cursor?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then this nifty 1 year rolling return, which means to say is from 1996 to 97, this is the kind of returns which is generated, So if you are looking at a short term graph, your volatility is too much, So your maximum return, which would have been possible, would have been 92%, and minimum return would have been minus 53%. But if you take it in a slightly longer horizon of 5 years, your minimum return would have been minus 5% at any point in time. You enter at 2000, exit in 2001, 2005. We are talking about 5 year rollings. Your minimum return would have been minus 5% and maximum would have been 44%. And if you take the same investment for a rolling return of 10 years, your maximum return possible would have been 20% and minimum would have been 5%. So if anybody tells you that he's going to give you 50-60% return, it's actually not worth taking that kind of a risk. This is what is possible, 5% to 20%. And this is what you need to look at. If you're able to generate a return of 15% or 10% is your inflation, 5% above that is very decent return, So, and one more myth I want to break here is people think market timing is very important, So we spend about 20 to 30% of our time in timing the market. Actual impact of that is less than 2% at the portfolio level. And then we say, okay, we need to buy the best stock possible, and we spend about 60 to 70% in security selection, which also is impact on returns actually is less than 5%. What we don't spend time on is asset allocation. When I say asset allocation, it is balancing your asset between debt, equity, gold, real estate. So this is what actually determines the portfolio's health. 93% of your return is based on asset allocation. And this was a study done by Vincent Singer and Wiebe Bauer in 1991. So this is on the net. You can take it, have a look more on this. This is what professional management does. This we have taken randomly the 10 available mutual funds in the year 15 years ago, 1995, not 15, in 1995. So what we've seen is randomly, if you had put 1 lakh in each of these funds, in 5 years, this is the kind of returns you have generated. Benchmark Nifty was at 2, and it's the return multiple we are talking about. Benchmark Nifty grew at 2 times. Your average portfolio has grown at 2.6 times. In 10 years, it is 5, 15 years, 14, 20, 28, 37, so on and so forth. You can ask me questions in between. So, are you able to understand this graph?
Yeah.
So this is what it is. So if you have gone to a professional manager or just put your money into mutual fund instead of trying to select your stock or anything, you would have still made money by just allocating your assets in these 10 mutual funds at that point in time. This is I think this is what we do in wealth management. That's all I have with me. I don't want to elaborate much, but we can, speak one-on-one if anybody wants to have a discussion on wealth management and wealth preservation. We do real estate planning. When we talk about estate planning, it is not the real estate we are talking about. It's the, handing over your asset to your next generation. That's called estate planning. So we help you in doing that as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Shrikant.
Yeah, thank you. I'm done. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you. Anybody has got anything to ask? Then before we go to the next point in the agenda, then can ask Shrikant. I guess it's very clear to everybody, Shrikant.
Okay,
So really that's why no one has got any question as of now. So shall we move to the next speaker to today's evening? Right. Now, we say that we never say thank you, or we never introduce our own Rotarian. But I feel probably we need not introduce Narayan Nurani. Everyone knows him too well. And all of us know also professionally what is he doing. But probably a couple of lines about what he is doing will be a kind of a intro for before he can start. See, he himself said that it's never more important to collaborate effectively. A brief introduction to human-centered design. So that is the main subject that is going to be spoken today. And as far as Narayan is concerned, I am sure we need not give any intro specially about him. But yes, he's a certified facilitator and a practitioner from Luma Institute. So Narayan, over to you.
Thanks, Gargi, and thanks all. I know it's a Saturday evening, so I'll try to keep it as interactive as possible so that we don't fall asleep. Let me share my screen, and let me know once you are able to see my screen. I'm putting on slideshow, so just give me a shout out. I can't see all now, so just give me a shout out if it is visible.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
visible.
Excellent. So this is what kind of I'm going to cover in the next 20 to 30 minutes, right? So I'm sure everybody would have heard this kind of buzzword, at some point in the recent years, right? There is talk about human-centered design and human being at the center of everything. So what is this all about, right? So I'll try to give a very high level view, because in this time, it's a more of an overall view of what it is, how it helps, us as an individual, as an organization, is what I will cover. So moving on, right? Let's start with an icebreaker. So here I want to make it a little interactive. So, I'll show you certain images with a question, right? So let me give a shout out. I can't see you all, so just feel free to unmute and, tell me what's your answer, right? So this is the first one. Okay, what will you instinctively do in this case when you're going to this door?
Push.
Okay. Any other answers? Does it get confusing seeing the push sign as well as the handle there? If you don't see, typically what would you do?
It seems like a glass door, like a door which opens,
Correct. But it has got two things, right? There is a push sign written and there is a handle there, right? So
Yeah. Narayan, if I may say, this little confusing. In first impression, push written, so I'll try to push it. Then the handle is opening, which means you pull it. So it's little confusing.
Correct. So this again, right, this is a very good case where the design is very not well thought of from day-to-day use perspective. Second one, right? So if you had a choice between these two remotes, which one would you find more easier to use? So all the features are there in both the remotes, but which one do you find is more convenient to use?
Narayan, your audio is not very clear.
Okay, let me just turn off my video. Give me 1 second. Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the second image is which of these two remotes will you find it easy to use? Anyone wants to
One
give
with,
your
Depends
opinion?
on the functionality.
one with fewer buttons.
Exactly. Right. So that is how a design works, right? Both have all the features, but one has just too many buttons, which probably we never know what it's used for. Another has similar functionality, or functionality which we need and has been designed with our use in mind. And this third picture, right? So let's say your room number was 110. Do you know which way to go? So I presume the answer is no. You will try and take a punt and go one side and figure out 110 or on the other side. So again, there's very simple things which we encounter in our day-to-day life. And you can see, right, how things can be, poorly designed or things can be confusing. And, our human brain just wants something which is simple, easy to use, very intuitive. And that's kind of, exactly what a human-centered, design is all about, right? So what is human-centered design? This is a typical kind of definition, right? So human-centered design it's a problem-solving technique, which means you are trying to solve for something which will put the people, the real people at the center of development process. So, if I, let's say in this case, right, if I'm going to a hotel and I want to know which room I'm going to stay in, so obviously it should have, when they designed it, they should have considered, okay, what will be easy for people to, read and go to. So that's where for any problem, you put the real people at the center of what you're building. And that will really enable you to create the products or services which can resonate and tailor to your audience needs. So it's all about the application, the usage of what you're creating. Can this be fit for purpose for the audience? So what human-centered design tries to do is bring in those people who may use the product or use the services and work with them to say, okay, which is the best, best design or best way to serve, which will really help them, right? So that's in summary at a high level what human-centered design is. And as I said, right, so it's really creating solutions in service for people. So obviously the three things we look at is it feasible, is it viable, and is it desirable? So it's almost like a when of this, which is the human-centered design. So ensuring that the feasibility is there, it will be desirable by the consumer, and obviously it has to be viable, right? I mean, we may desire something, but if it is not viable, it will not sell. So it's a cusp of these three, which human-centered design focuses on. Now, let me give you some examples of, and these are real-life examples of how human-centric design was used and has practically helped. So let me start with the first one. Okay, it's evening on a Sunday, so I start with a bit of high spirits. Here, I mean, we all have held a pint of beer in our hand. And in most cases, we see that it's hard to open. So we'll search for bottle openers or, we have some, daring folks who will try to open with their teeth, etc. So this problem went through a human-centered design process. Lucky for the people who were involved, I'm sure they could have a lot of free pints. And the solution came up was putting this pull ring, right? One you see in a lot of beer pints today, that openers have become extinct. So you can just pull and, you can have a sip of a chilled beer anytime. So this is a great example of how it was designed. Next one, right? We are all probably, have been at some point use those, bulky, chunky Walkmans and other things. Again, lot of features, difficult to carry. Most of the buttons were inaccessible. And, Apple came with their, music system, which was very simple, reduced complexity and clip-on design. So they also used the human-centric design to come up with this solution from the age-old model. And last and not but the least, right, our famous tomato ketchup. If earlier designs were, ketchup anyway is very hard to get out of the bottle, and if you're holding a plate with a dish and you want to get the ketchup out, it's not very easy. So, Heinz was one of the initial companies who designed inverted bottle. So, which means you keep the bottle always inverted. So the sauce is very easy to get through. And the way they designed the bottle was, it's very easy to just have one hand and you can get the sauce out. So these are all, real life examples of how human-centric design has helped, in creating products. I mean, most of this we use on a regular basis. Now, what I'll go to is, explaining how a human-centric design, or in short, HCD approaches, right? And I'm covering more of how Luma does it. There are many institutes or many organizations like IDEO and others who also have their methods, but largely it will be similar in nature. Maybe they have a few more extra steps, or some may have lesser steps. But the way Luma approaches is in three aspects. So one is, let's say any scenario, any problem, anything you deal with, there are three stages. So one is looking at what it is. So this is really methods of observing human experience, then understanding it. So methods of analyzing challenges and opportunities, and then making is methods for envisaging future possibilities. So in a way, it's, many times what we see in real life is, I may think this is my problem, right? My problem statement may be, XYZ, but when we actually delve into that little more in detail and understand, the real problem may be something else. So if we didn't understand the problem right in first place, we would have gone and designed something which is, completely not required. So these three steps, right? Again, it's not necessary that each step should follow each other. It could, interchange. It could, I could start with looking, then I could make, then understand. Again, I could come to looking. So it could go into multiple, hops till we reach what we desire. And within Luma, across these three steps, there are almost 36 methods. And again, right, it's not that all methods are used always. Sometimes you just need one or two methods to be used. Sometimes you need a few more. And a combination of this is what we typically, like when we are working in our office, we are looking at a problem statement, or we are looking at a scenario. We then look at, okay, now what are the best methods which we can use, so that the group which is involved in this can easily adapt to it, and then end of the session come up with a roadmap or a plan in terms of what they want to do. So this is at a high level what the approach is. I'll delve into each of them with a few examples in the subsequent slides. So just take a pause here if anybody has any questions before I move to the next slide. Okay, I'll move ahead.
These,
Now,
Narayan,
yeah.
these methods that you mentioned, are they all very specific? I mean, they're all defined very clearly, or are they kind of, or are you going to give us a couple of examples?
Yeah, I'm going to. So you're asking what these are, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm going to the subsequent slides for that.
Yeah, okay.
So typically looking, right, there are specific research that is done, right? So one is around ethnographic research. So this could have, these are the various methods I said. So in the previous slide, I talked about 36 methods. So in looking, I've put a few, there are many more, but I'll just put a few here as examples. So you have interviewing as a technique, fly on the wall as a technique, walk a mile as a technique. Similarly, you have participatory research, which has methods such as what's on your radar, journaling, evaluative research such as critiquing, system usability, etc. So here, what I'll do is I'll take you through one example. Right, when we say fly on the wall, what does that mean? Right. So fly on the wall is basically if, say, I am facilitating, a problem or solution to it, and there is a group of people. So I am not directly getting into that group. I am almost like a fly in the wall. So if you say in the situation, I'm not directly speaking to people, or I don't want to interrupt their flow of activities, but I am being a fly on the wall and trying to very unobtrusively, observe what is happening, so that people are in their true self, going through what they are doing, so that I can then understand how a regular flow of work happens, or what they do for that problem currently, etc. So this really helps me to gather first-hand information without going into it. And benefit of this is obviously, right, one, it's kind of, I am like a fly.
Narayan can't hear you.
Yeah.
Hello.
I think we have lost the.
I'm just calling him.
Yeah, he's hung, I think.
Yeah.
No,
Someone
yeah.
please try. I sent him a message, but it seems probably he's not looking at the phone.
Yeah. Log out and log in. Thanks.
Gargi, do you want me to call him?
Suman must have called him. She said
Yeah,
she's
actually, I just spoke with him.
Okay.
He said he will log out and log in.
Hello, am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know what happened. Just give me a shout which slide. Suman, you may need to allow me to share screen.
Yeah, I think, the presentation is on from your other connection.
No, I have only one connection. I joined from my laptop only.
Now it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is it visible now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So just give me a shout where you all, stop hearing me. Did I go through this one? I was on the next slide, but I had shared example of fly on the wall.
Yeah. Last you were there only.
Okay, all right. So I'll move to the next one, right? So next step is around understanding. This is where, there are different techniques which you use. So one is for people and systems. So I'm sure we all have heard about stakeholder mapping. Second is persona profile. This is really understanding the personas and their profiling and their needs, and then you have concept mapping. Similarly, there are patterns and priorities. So, if I want to prioritize, there are techniques around bullseye, affinity clustering I use. Then there is problem framing, such as rose thorn bird problem tree analysis. So this is one of the most popular and most easiest method that is used, which I'll kind of walk through. I'll just checking I'm audible, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So rose thorn bud is a very simple technique which has been used for a long time, by the Boy Scouts of America. And typically, what we do is in any of these engagements, right? We ask the group of people to identify, whatever topic we are discussing. So to identify one positive experience, which is a rose, one negative experience, which is a thorn, and one insight or opportunity, which is a bud. So typically, when you have like 10, 15 people, uh, everybody needs to at least contribute one of each. People can contribute more than one. But what would happen is at the end of that session, you would have a string of positive experiences which people have. People will come with negative experiences and the opportunities or insights they have. So this and then everybody is asked to explain what they mean, so that we can get alignment in terms of, okay, there are similar kind of negative experiences which people have had, or maybe somebody has a negative experience is a positive for somebody. So this allows us to assess across the group what are the common things which are coming out, which will then help to prioritize, right? So if everybody, 80% of the people have very similar negative experience, or 60 people of the people come with, okay, this is an opportunity we should go for, then those things can be more prioritized at a later stage. So it is almost, as gathering data from the actual people who are impacted by the problem. And after we understand, once we reach a stage, then you can actually go into the making. So again, making has different ways to do it. So you have concept ideation, where you do thumbnail sketching, creative matrix. You can do modeling and prototyping, which is very easy to do. So what is in your mind can visually be depicted in terms of storyboarding, or very rough and ready prototype. I mean, if you look at Apple as an example, right? They do a lot of rough and ready prototypes before they come to a final model for any of their products. Similarly, design rationale is creating a concept poster or a mock-up story. So what does storyboarding mean, right? So storyboarding, I mean, like Walt Disney said, right? In our studio, we don't write stories; we draw them. So when you draw something, when something is visual, then it becomes very easy for everybody to understand what you're trying to say, and align or critique, or give suggestions and build that story. So storyboarding is pretty much that, right? So let's say we did a rose thorn bird. We arrived at, okay, this is the problem statement. Now people will all they can either individually or in small groups start designing, okay, draw out, okay, to address this problem visually, what can I do to solve it? And then, you bring everybody together and then, identify, okay, this is probably the best approach. So once that visual view is there, exactly how you're going to solve for it, then you go ahead and obviously, go into more depth in terms of how you would actually build a product or, solve for a process issue, etc. So these are, typically the three stages. And so one question will be, I'm sure on all of mind is, okay, how do we use these things, right? All three are there, but how do we really go about using them? So that's where a recipe comes in. So just like, any dish we make, it is combining, different masalas or different vegetables or etc. And then you come with a food, right? That's how a food recipe is there. So similarly, for HCD, it is really combining, methods from the looking, understanding, and making, depending on the scenarios, and then you kind of go about solving the problem. So this is where everything starts coming to life in terms of recipe. I'll give you some examples, right? And these are all practical examples which are used on a regular basis. So let me start with the first one. So this is a common thing we see, right? That if there is a team working, there is always a question of, okay, there are near-term priorities. How do we really align all of that? So this is a typical recipe, which can be probably done in a group meeting in probably 1.5 hours, and then you come out with, okay, this is my priority. So you first start with, capturing data from the team using the roast on bird. Then, basis this, you do it will start revealing patterns. So you can cluster to say, okay, these are the problems which are common, or these are the opportunities which are common, etc. Once you do that, within the group, people would, vote for which they think is the important one. So you may have 4 or 5 things which are voted. And once you vote, you basically would agree on priorities, because maybe, on a method which is called importance and difficulty matrix. So something may be important, but very difficult to do. So do you want to really pick that now? Or something may be important, easy to do. So, with that kind of, layout, you can decide, okay, these are the top 3 things which I want to address immediately, because these are important, may not be very difficult to do, and where I can get the best buck for the time spent. So in about an hour and a half, the entire team comes out of this very clearly aligned. Okay, these are the things we want to focus on and go about it. Another example is if you want to invite users to shape a product or a service. So you can have, here you see there are just 2 techniques, right? One is you get the people to state out, right? What, for a product or a service, what are the things they like, or what are the things they really want from the product? So they will say, okay, these are the 5 things I want. And then you invite them to design, right? How do you build a service or product using most of the requirements? And then through that process, you will say, okay, this is what probably best works for this segment of people. And then how can I go ahead and productize it? The third one, again, this comes everywhere, right? How do you brainstorm for big ideas, if you want to do it in R? So one of the things you do is get the people around, let everybody, go through a round robin and write down, right, what are the big ideas they have. And once all the ideas are ready, either virtually or on a whiteboard, you put them down and everybody goes through them. And then you visualize it, almost like you vote, right? Everybody votes for, okay, these are the top 5 things we want to look for as an outcome. So that's how typically you can, make brainstorming a bit more structured. And the last one, I mean, this is again, if you want to go ahead with any of the home improvement work, how do you do it, right? So one is you have a lot of things to do. So you again use something like an importance difficulty matrix, put down, in that kind of, nine box matrix where what falls in. And then, as a family, you can say, okay, these are the things we want to, vote through and pick it up. And that way it also helps us to ensure that, okay, these are the 3 4 5 things we want to prioritize and work through, right? So these are some examples, which, I mean, at work, definitely a lot of things we use on pretty much on a regular basis, and find it very very useful. So that is pretty much what I wanted to cover. Thank you so much for listening to me. And again, apologies for those audio issues. I'll stop here and stop sharing my screen. And yeah, if any questions or anything, happy to take it. I know it has been a very kind of rapid fire, short presentation. There are a lot of details. I mean, typically, if if you want to learn it end to end, just the training program takes about a full week, and then obviously a lot of practice over 6 months before which you actually get certified. But it's very useful what I've seen in practically, in our day to day, whether it is solving a problem for the organization, or very useful, like when we are mentoring in our organization, we do mentoring for the women population. We find this very useful to use some of these techniques to really help them to have a clear plan, roadmap, how they want to, what they want to do from a career perspective. Yeah, that's it from my side. Any questions, any thoughts, or if anybody has used something similar, would welcome. It will be great to hear from you all.
Anybody has got any question? I know it's something different, something new probably. And since, in half an hour's time, he has to complete the entire talk, probably, as Narayan himself mentioned, that everything cannot be explained. So he has summarized the whole thing. But there can be some basic, probably, inquisitiveness we may have that we would like to know. So, like, I have
Narayan.
sorry, Raju, go ahead.
Go ahead. Correct.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to ask one question, Narayan. That is, when you showed the design, simplicity of the design, right? And how confusing it can be, like the remote you showed or the door you showed. Okay. So how much do you think that these kind of things are researched and implemented in today's scenario?
I think today's scenario, it's more and more things are going towards human-centered design, right? So if you look at I mean, even some of the largest universities, right? If you look at Stanford, Harvard, etc., they have dedicated streams or dedicated areas which are focusing on human-centered design. And I mean, it's endless, right? What I've spoken here is some simple things. What they are doing is really, cutting edge kind of thing, where they are looking, we are all talking about AI, ML, etc. They are actually going beyond AI, ML to see, okay, how much AI, ML is being human centric.
Okay.
So, a lot of things which are being done today across large universities and research organizations, everything is focused around this. And if you see, even right, the way the product and services are evolving, clearly, I think the focus is on the how easy it is for people to use, and that is definitely coming through these kind of human centric designs. I mean, even simple thing, right? If you look at some of our banking apps which are there, Probably what an app was 3 years back to today it's very different, right? It's so easy. I mean, with click of one or two buttons, you can transfer, money. You can, kind of open a housing loan, get a, loan, etc. Which otherwise used to, you have to go to a bank, stand in a queue, etc. And that was very tedious and a very, a process which people didn't enjoy. But today, within a matter of seconds, like we have products which are B2B, where people can, like today, if you go to an Amazon website, you click, okay, I want this card. In 2 minutes, you have the virtual card ready on the back end, all the KYC, everything is done, right? And that is all with the human-centered design in mind.
Now, downloading process also, you see, any apps earlier, when we started few years back, probably WhatsApp has got umpteen number of apps. It used to take us quite some time. The process was such that you go one by one step like that. And today it's like in Jiffy, it's done. So that shows that how the progress is happening. Yes.
True.
Thanks, Narayan. Yeah, Raju, you can go ahead.
Yeah, Narayan, fantastic, very new insights. Some of these have been tried actually at the corporate levels, but it was more of what you said was more elaborate thing. One of my suggestion is this can be used for one of our Rotaract Raila sessions. You can take a workshop, maybe 2 hours workshop, and introduce this kind of thing there. It will be quite interesting. You can create a small 2 hour session for this. I'm sure they will enjoy this.
Yeah, definitely. I can do that. I mean, we can cater to
More
the students'
interactive,
need.
more game-like.
Yeah. I mean, you can actually, do that with the students. In terms of like, you can take a problem statement, planning your career or something like that, and then use some of these methods where they do it, and end of that session, they have a pathway to what they want to do in future.
Right.
Yeah, definitely it can be done. Yeah.
Sorry, can I add something here? Manjula.
Yeah.
Sure. So this roast on bud methodology seems to be very, very unique. It talks about, I think the way you presented it sounded very nice. In fact, in our professional work, we follow it in a different way. Probably get a bunch of people together, 14, 15 of them, and then ask them what is their biggest issue today. And also ask them to find the solution by themselves. And also give an insight as to, how things can be done better. Basically, the method followed is use sticky notes, put problems and put solutions, and then all of them group together and see what problems were identified and what solutions have been actually recommended by the group, and then the insight part. I think something very similar. Do you have any thoughts around it? I mean, just wanted to ask you.
Yeah, no, I think what you said is right. It is very similar. So like if we are, doing it in person, we will use sticky notes. If you're doing virtually, obviously we use whiteboard, etc., virtual whiteboards. But I think what here, if you see the differences, we are looking at all the three. We are looking at rose, thorn, and bud. So it is also kind of opening up people's mind, because many a times, it is in a group, right? Some people will be silent. They may not say anything. Some people will only come with thorns. But we want people to also say, okay, what is good? In anything, everything can't be bad, right? There will be some good things. So it is also encouraging people to say, okay, what is a good thing happening? Then you say, okay, what is the thorn there, and what is the opportunity? So when you start looking at all these three things, as I said, right, if there are 10, 15 people, you may see patterns emerging, right? Somebody who is saying this is a thorn, maybe somebody is saying, okay, this is actually a rose. There is something really good happening. And you can connect the dots. And then using, predominantly what comes in the thorn and what comes in the bud, clustering them to say, okay, these are the kind of big themes coming. And then next step, obviously the group will have, each one may have, say, one vote. And let's say there are 15 people, the 15 people will go and vote. right? For let's say there are 10 ideas. So you will know, okay, these are the 5 things which are the biggest thing to be addressed, and then you solve for it. So in a way, what you said is similar, but here the idea is to encourage all the 3 aspects and see if there are any linkages coming through.
Sure. Yeah, I've got a couple of more things. I'll quickly squeeze that in. See, the other thing about, okay, the first thing is RILA. It would be a very interesting thing. Actually, we're planning a RILA sometime either November, January. It's undecided yet. But I think when we come across a date, either doing it together or separately, I would like to have a session from you and create a practical issue. I mean, you mentioned about the career planning and what they see as opportunities, what they see as challenges, and then also all of them coming together and identifying their strength areas, and then deciding the career path will be a great activity. If it can be extended for a couple of hours, I think it'll be excellent to look at. So request you on that. The second thing I want to ask you is, what is AI ML doing right now on this? Because you define a problem statement with ChatGPT, it comes up with wonderful solutions around this. Although it is just word processing right now, but I think it's got excellent insights into these aspects also. So where do you see this moving?
This again, right? This is very much human interaction. End of the day, you look at ChatGPT or everything, it is a accumulation of whatever is currently available, and it throws it out. It has not really reached the stage of thinking on its own. This is when you talk about, human-centric design will be needed for AI ML in future. That's what the larger universities are doing. But this cannot be replaced by AI ML, because end of the day, this is all about human experience, how you can improve it or how you can solve for it. Right? So, and this will actually, this is a very emerging field for the future.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, Shushila, please.
Yeah, one of the challenges that I find with most products and even with several services is that while they kind of cater to and designed around the majority of users, they don't cater to certain specific group. For example, senior citizens or somebody with a physical disability. And if one were to look at it from a very pragmatic perspective and say, here's a product, and so long as it meets the needs of the majority of people, it's okay. Versus saying, how do we force the inclusion of these categories of people? And how does that get prioritized? In your experience, what happens? Does it ever get prioritized at all?
No, I think what you say is the reality, right? Because any company who is launching the product, their interest is where the majority will buy in. But at the same time, what we are seeing, right? I can definitely talk from our organization perspective, right? Like even internally, forget externally, even internally. Let's say any virtual training which is being rolled out. The first page, right? These are all online trainings. The first page will ask, right, whether you want a standard version or you want an accessibility version. So if you click accessibility version, then depending on what kind of accessibility requirements you have, it will play out. So I can see that trend already emerging, right? So I'm sure we are not the only bank. There may be other organizations who are definitely doing this internally. And, also every organization has a lot of focus on D&I. So that really is, we are seeing that happening, right? 2 years back, it was not there. But in the last 18 months or so, I'm seeing that trend happening. And it will be very same in all organizations. And similarly, basic things, right? Today, if you go to any of the IT organization, IT parks, right from the accessibility, the lifts, everything is, they're trying to make it, accessible, whether it is, visually challenged or there is any other, kind of, inclusivity challenge, all these things are being catered to. It has to grow in other products also, but at least what I see is, it's starting to happen.
So it's starting from the workplace, but it should then translate into the output of that workplace.
Correct. Absolutely. I think it's still a while to go, but at least the positive shoots are there, from what it was before.
But are you seeing discussions around on the online? I think it's okay because there are now lots of tools also that can be used to simply translate whole pages or whole courses or the manuals or whatever. So that's all right. But when it comes to physical product design, I don't think people are really applying the minds enough.
Yeah, that's what it is something which you are seeing happening, but probably it will have to take more pace in the coming years.
In fact, Sushila, what you said, in fact, yesterday we had a discussion. Suman was also there, Kitu was there. We went to APD and we had a very elaborate discussion on this, that inclusivity from the point of view of the disabled people, how we can make it more awareness about that in the product design, because they said we have 300 different ways of modifying a wheelchair. See, that means that much thought has gone in terms of the needs and this thing. So they also do the audit, social audit for the institutions, public places. They have been invited for the metro design, rail design, etc. So that is one aspect where one can influence, Rotary can definitely influence, and we can work with them to make that more as a movement in terms of, like, I was also happened to go to ICGF and had a discussion with the DEI chair, and we had a discussion that why can't we, as a group of Rotarians, influence the local government to make our things, transport, our public facilities inclusive. And that much thought has to go in, because not everything may not be immediately possible, but if they start thinking of that, the building should come up like that, the transportation system should come up like that. Today, there is no single bus in Bangalore which will cater to a wheelchair. So this has to, and as you said rightly, the physical products, they don't take care. More of intuitive design for the attracting the customers rather than to make their life more easier. So that has to come in.
No, the simple thing, right? If you look at airports, probably Indigo was the first airline to really think of how a wheelchair can be moved in, but unfortunately, none of the airlines have adopted it. You go to, any of the airlines, you need two people to literally physically carry the wheelchair up and go, and the health and safety hazards are too much, not only for the person, but also for the people who are carrying them.
Yeah, and a lot of that, even physical access in buildings, a lot of it is really unscientific, because you have a ramp, but the ramp is so steep nobody can use it.
In fact, yesterday we saw a demonstration of how APD has designed a wheelchair lifter using a hydraulic system, which is a very nice one. It can be made it more sophisticated, but the design works, and they have been using it for years now. So that is to take the children up in the bus or with the wheelchair, or from the wheelchair bring them down on the road. So that kind of a thing, I think that innovation is very useful, and I don't see it anywhere else that is happening. Abroad, you have hydraulic buses which go all the way down so that people can go to that level, but here nothing of that sort is there.
Then some of the airport buses in the airport.
Airport buses are there. Yes,
that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it.
Hi, Narayan. This is TV here.
Hi.
Yeah, very, very interesting what you mentioned. Just a quick aside, you're a very large bank. When you do exercises like this, do you deploy external consultants, or do you do a train-the-trainer program?
So we had initially, when this program Electron started, there were obviously so we are tied up with Luma. So we used to have their consultants there, but right now it is fully run in-house. So each one of us. So like say for example, I am a practitioner and a facilitator. So I can do it for any group in the bank. I don't need to know the subject as such, but I can go ahead and do this for anybody in the bank. So if you look at it within a bank, we have this HCD community, which is almost at least about 3,000 people strong. So we are about 200 people who are in the core team, but overall there are about 3,000 people who are there, and we have a kind of monthly connect to exchange and create that kind of community environment. So right now it is all internally run. We don't use any external consultants for it.
Do you have a cell which actually does the business improvement, monitors it, or do you all report to the CEO and he controls it?
No. These are all at individual business line level. So at an individual business line level, we would run our improvement, efficiency initiatives, etc.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other question? I take it as no. So Narayan, good. You're relieved now. No further question now after this. Okay. Now we have come to the end of this meeting today. And as I said that we don't say the intro and the thank you to our own Rotarian. But definitely I cannot stop but saying a big thank you to Narayan for talking about such a different, new and interesting subject. Okay, maybe probably we sometime later, one prospect is we'll be looking at his association with Raila, how he can talk to these kids, college kids and all, and talk to them. And probably to us also. I think there are a lot of interesting things that even we would like to know. And this was a kind of an eye-opener for me, at least that I can say. And definitely I would like to listen to him sometime later, probably in a much bigger canvas and in a bigger way, how these are changing the life of all of us or going to change. So thank you once again, Narayan, okay, for talking to us.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, and I adjourn the meeting and thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thanks.